Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Actuali Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm DJ.
And today we are going to continue our coverage following the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the fallout that we see in the aftermath of that horrific event. And today we're just going to consider how easy it is for us to become those monsters we seek to fight against. And, you know, how we're seeing regular people being increasingly pressured to take a side. So how may we find a independent stance from which we can observe the fray and be able to act as like mediators between these increasingly angry sides in this manufactured divide? So this continues our coverage of the fallout following the shocking death of free speech advocate Charlie Kirk. I do pray that we as a country can rise above the inflamed divisions to see the heart behind every fellow human and heal this growing divide before we downward spiral even further into civilizational collapse. We have nothing better to put in place as of yet. And I really feel like we should be having that conversation before we tear the existing system down out of pure rage and hatred of one another. So let us now see if we may cultivate the wisdom to see beyond the narrowness of our tribalist and essentialist perceptions of reality. A lot's been going on this last week, hasn't it? We were just talking about this before the cast. And the number of politically violent, I guess, politically motivated violent events that has occurred since Charlie's death.
Since Charlie has left us, we had two radical extremists of perhaps the Islamist variety plant bombs underneath a Fox broadcast truck. We had somebody yelling "Free Palestine," shooting up a
was it a CBS?
Wedding dinner?
Oh, wedding dinner. That's right. When there wasn't there like a CBS or ABC
and
affiliate?
then there was the ABC affiliate in California. I forget which one that was shot up by a guy that was not happy about Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. I don't know. One of the Jimmys, Kimmel being taken off air. And we can talk about that too because it's not.
So that was like a far left.
Oh yeah, no, that guy was definitely, and he actually wrote a note and left it there.
Right.
And I'm not going to say the politicians, but basically saying certain politicians, you're next.
Oh, geez.
A
lot of people.
Keith Olbermann telling a right-wing personality, I believe it was a Fox personality, you're next, and then deleting his tweet, of course, and then putting up a new tweet and be like, no, I meant your career is next. Okay, yeah, buddy, sure.
God, I hope that's what he meant. Jeez, man.
Let's see, I might be forgetting some stuff, but now we're up to an ICE facility being attacked and the casualties being the very people that this person sought to protect, which is sick, bitter irony. But it is the same, the left. They claim to be for black people, so, defund the police and let the criminals out of jail. And it's hurting the black communities the most. Super white areas, they don't have to deal with it. And then speaking of irony, the inner cities, they do have to deal with it.
Yeah. And speaking of irony, we also have a pregnant woman taking
oh my goodness
Tylenol.
Yeah, it's because Trump said acetaminophen is bad, so they have to take it.
This is like taking poison to spite your enemy, literally.
No, it wasn't Trump that was saying that. It was actually research from the very reputable people. It was at Johns Hopkins and Harvard,
or Yale. There's several major medical institutions.
It was the science, and now they're...
Well, Tylenol came out too, and they had a tweet back from 2011 or 2017?
2017 ago. Being like, we do not advise any pregnant women taking our drugs.
Yeah, it's there on the label.
It says on the label.
So I guess I would appreciate the clarification, because what's happening in it is potentially... it's causal, but it's happening in very alarming numbers. So, and even Tylenol admits, just be safe and don't take it during pregnancy, because they know there's a potential for increased autism rates, and so it seems to be exacerbating what's happening with the incredible amount of vaccines we give children all at once nowadays.
Well, I mean,
And then if you take Tylenol while you're getting those vaccines, it seems to exacerbate the potential for autism. And this wasn't the Trump administration. This was, again.
Yeah, what the most recent study says is they sampled the blood within the umbilical cords. And those children that had high levels of acetaminophen in the umbilical cords had a higher propensity of having ADHD or autism. And I've seen, posts from, your reputable sites from years ago talking about this, not necessarily with autism, but with ADHD or hyperactivity, that acetaminophen might actually cause some problems. But okay, so all that stuff is happening, and we're reaching a boiling point. So now we're going to talk about the right and the right side of this. And, hey, guys, I feel you. I'm angry. I'm furious. There's a portion of my soul that wants just retribution, but retribution only belongs to God. It doesn't belong to you or me. We are too low for that. So starting off, what's pissing me off about the right is all this conspiracy theory stuff. They're making a whole bunch of money off the Charlie Kirk death. And, well, maybe not money, but views. And
there's some grifting out there.
Yeah, a bunch of grifting off the death, and then saying, oh, well, it's really this and that or the other. And you see this bush, it's really not a bush. It's somebody with a ghillie suit. And then, oh, you see this guy jumping over.
All the conspiracy theories around. Jeez.
That's happening on the right. And that's the woke right. I'm sorry. Like the super hardcore conspiracy theory people, that's woke.
So what do we mean by woke? I think that we mean something along the lines, if I understand correctly. You think you already know everything there is to know. You're so certain. You woke up, you know the truth. Can't be convinced otherwise.
That might be part of it.
I guess that's the orientation that you kind of take on.
Awaken to this new understanding of the world, or one that you've been in all along. But then there's the other one is they don't want you to know. If you see the truth, they don't want you to know. Well, who's they though?
Yeah.
Not to quote Kanye or nothing, but who's they though? He meant the Jews, but Kanye's woke too.
To me, it's definitely the certainty. Like there's definitely conspiracy theories abound, but it's the certainty around those conspiracy theories that denotes woke for me, because otherwise, we're just awakening. We recognize that there's potentially always new information that could come along and give us a new insight about our understanding. So as long as you're open to that, you're not trying to be woke. But if you are trying to be completely certain on something, you're not interested in any new information, I would consider that woke, as well as ideologically possessed.
Yeah, and to give James Lindsay some credit, because I know he and then the guys from Trigonometry have been dragged through the dirt for using this term woke right. But what James Lindsay is saying, if anybody took the time to actually watch his really long videos where he goes really in depth and cites all of his sources and all that stuff, it's those who are participating in the Gnostic cult of there's this demiurge that's controlling the world and we need to break free from it. And then there's this knowledge that even Jesus had that they're not sharing with us so they can control us. Now, to a certain extent, there are people that don't have your best interests that are out to get you. The WF people, the Carl Schwabs, what's his name? Who's like funding every really bad DA and Soros and, his family and all that stuff. Yeah, there are people doing that. But just to go looking for it and never being satisfied, and back to giving James Lindsay some credit. What I see with the quote unquote woke right and the woke left is this idea that there's this overarching ultimate oppressive thing that's keeping you down, and if only everybody woke up to this realization, we'd be fine. The world's too messy. Even the people running the world that, are running the banks and are coordinating a lot of the crap that's happening, in the UN and all that stuff. Even those people, it's wishy-washy. There's no complete control. Okay. They're all playing a game too.
Here, if you want to bring this up on the screen, brought it up on Chat GPT here. Hold on. Just confirmed with Grok as well. They're both giving us the same sources. Here's the key medical research institutions that have released studies relating to Tylenol causing autism and or neurodevelopmental disorders. So here we are. The ICANN or Econ School of Medicine at Mount Sinai.
Oh, Mount Sinai. So
they're thank you.
Yeah, they're Icon School of Medicine, which is, I guess, within Mount Sinai.
Yeah. So Higher quality studies are more likely to show associations between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and increased risks of autism and ADHD.
There's a link for it.
Harvard. Yep, there's links for all of these guys, and you can look it up yourself. And we can dive into this too if we feel interested in doing so today.
This is a bit of an aside, but
yeah,
it's good.
there's a meta-analysis of 46 prior studies published in 2025 August, so that would explain the timeliness of this release.
Yeah.
In BMC Environmental Health, linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to increased incidence of neurodevelopmental disorders, autism, ADHD. Harvard also published a public communication on their site about that study.
Yeah.
Yale Public School of Public Health, US FDA, other institutions involved. So you could, if you really, really wanted to convince yourself that everything that happens under the Trump administration is evil, say, well, he controls the US FDA now, so blah, blah, blah. But okay, how do you explain Yale? Because Yale is extremely woke nowadays.
I'll come from the other end of that. You know, I like Trump for the most part. There's some stuff I'm not really happy with, but I still don't trust the FDA. I don't trust the FBI. I don't trust the CIA. I don't trust any of that stuff. It's not about trust. It's about they work for us. Pay attention. Tell them what you want. And luckily, we've got a dude. He happens to be colored like a Cheeto and have a bad hairdo and talks kind of terrible on the internet and gives everybody a funny name, but at least he bends to his the people he's representing's will.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So there's that.
So, yeah, but really, like...
And you already saw, and I saw this online myself, and then with people reporting on this happening, was a huge movement of people to come out and basically take the poison despite their enemies. And so that it's crazy that metaphor has come to life.
Oh, that's a good metaphor for this episode.
What a risk to take. Just because they say not to do something, you're going to do the opposite. Like, it's a little bit childish, and it's a little bit, God, I mean, how ideologically possessed can we possibly get? Well, so I guess that what the other side does is always evil, and our side is always right.
Well, doesn't that get us into the hole that we're in now? And that whole taking the poison despite the enemy thing is a good motto for this episode, because yes, the left has been going crazy. The left is far more violent than the right.
Right.
And I, the
Currently,
media is going to
to
skew it.
say, but it's true, man.
But I don't like seeing people on the right saying, "Oh, well, screw my morals that I've been talking about," and get angry and do dumb shit. Use my language. Do dumb stuff. And celebrate horrible stuff and allow their emotions to turn them into the very demons that they're fighting, because that's what happened to the modern left. They kept looking around the corner for fascists, and they kept going so fast that they broke the time-space barrier, and they were looking at their own back of their heads, and they realized they didn't realize they were the fascists, but like, there they are. And they became the fascists. They became the violent ones. They became not the good revolutionaries, but the horrible, hostile revolutionaries. And I don't want to see the right do that. And for a few reasons. Is because I think, morally speaking, the right has the grounds to actually make a judgment and be like, no, we don't want our society to go down there.
And it's good to see the right become what it's become today. This is a new right.
But real quick to end
compared to the one that we were dealing with under George Bush, Dick Cheney,
totally
the neocons having complete control. Yeah, basically corporatists were in power. Now we've got somebody that can't be bought off, and he certainly is imperfect. But like you were saying, he really does try and follow the will of the people. I think that narcissism is playing to our advantage in this case. This guy really wants to be loved and applauded for doing a good job.
Sure,
and now he's going to, of course, be a blowhard and be quite divisive sometimes and be quite partisan too, which I wish he'd be less partisan. But at the same time, I do see the balance of this administration with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK in there. People from all walks of life coming together universally in common cause.
Well, and this isn't about Trump.
Yeah.
This isn't about our politicians. Actually, for once, we have people that either respect or fear our opinions as the proletariat, as the little peoples, as the people that voted him in or didn't vote him in, but have our opinions.
Yeah.
And now that we have the internet, you can directly tell. You can, you go on Twitter, and you can do, at DHS, at whatever, and you can put your opinions right there, and it goes right to them.
Yeah.
And you know that they have people that are active with this stuff because you can see the responses.
Mm-hmm.
But to get back to the two things, the problems I have with seeing the right go where it's going, and I'm not super condemning the right, but I have to bring this up. This, other than the first reason that I stated before, the second reason is if the right really decides to go violent and wage war, you really want that?
Hmm.
People that have strong willpower and can actually go through with something and not just flake off.
Yeah.
Like people that are heavily armed, know what they're doing, own land, are privately wealthy.
A lot of those communities are close and will look out for each other and be really hard to break into and hurt.
So that, and then there's a third thing is everything that the left is doing right now is, in my opinion, to get us to have an emotional reaction so they can go, see, look at them, see, look at them.
Yeah.
Because the corporate media is going to jump at it.
So you're talking about the leftism that is infiltrating liberalism right now.
Well, leftism, the hardcore revolutionaries that want to burn it down.
Reasonable liberal friends and family.
I won't, I'm a liberal. I'm not on the left.
Right, yeah. And that distinction is very important, guys, because you can be leftist and be quite illiberal. The progressives of the past have become the regressives of today. So yeah, what's up, Ninja Bat in the house?
Yeah, so okay. This is from Ninja Bat. Washington did the moral thing in 1776. They were very Christian and prayed, but our creators gave us wisdom and intelligence to fight evil. That may be true, but wisdom and intelligence get squished aside when we get angry and reactive. It may be true.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to be careful about, is becoming too emotionally reactive, because your passions will rule your reasons. And I would have to say, literacy, both written, spoken, and in your mind, probably helps with this. Because if you look at the old readings, even though there was emotional statements, they were being as reasoned as they could. We've, as a comfortable society, seemed to have lost the, maybe not necessarily the art, but the commonplace usage of reason as a default, like being reasonable. The idea of like, oh, common sense is reasonable. Well, common sense now is like homicidal and crazy. That's common sense now. Well, common sense back in the day seemed a lot more reasonable. And I can hear people saying, oh, but the racists and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, well, they were people of their times. And actually, there's a lot more by volume racists nowadays all around the world than there were back then, but that's another story.
Yeah, Shavaya just said, I think it's a big part of the awakening to see the corruption of governments and big corporations. Then you don't logically have to hate common people. Next step would be inner transformation.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of Americans seeing the corruption makes me hopeful, because what happens there seems to happen in Europe years later. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. And I 100% agree with that too. We've got to look at these systems that are manufacturing this divide, that are effectively pitting us against each other and utilizing this divide and conquer methodology. Because I do verily believe that it is global corporatists that see our systems of self-governance as outmoded and wish to push their system, which would be, I think, kind of very much modeled after the China model, in place as the global dominating force. Well, we might still keep our country's names, but there'll be nothing but label only at that point.
Yeah, nationalism isn't necessarily the enemy. The enemy is utopianism. Oh, if only we could reshape, get the chance to reshape the world, we'd do it right. We'd create this ultimate utopia. Well, I don't know. Ask anybody who lived through like Soviet era, or people living in China, or the people unfortunately living in decay right now. That utopia really ain't
it's
all
like trying
it's up to be.
Fit a square peg into a round hole. Every time we try and force utopianism by changing the model of governance and changing its laws, we end up creating massive bloodshed, genocide, hundreds of millions dead. And we did it last century, and that seems to be because the system that you put in place, even if it's got all these great ideals, it's not going to work until the people themselves that make up the system are able to live up to those ideals. So until we have changed ourselves in mass, and as Shavaya suggests here, gone through that process of inner transformation to greater extent in large numbers, we're not going to be able to pull off that system, that new revolution. The revolution must begin within if we seek anything that is lasting and sure for our species.
Well,
It's all that's left for us.
in the very
Because we're so at each other's throats right now.
Yeah.
We're so close to civil war. The only thing that pulls this back now is us as a people. Every one of us saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to look upon even those with whom I disagree with consideration and an intention to understand. I'm going to try and open my heart to love, even if I don't like what they believe. I'm going to try and see through my heart rather than just my frightened ego mind.
Yeah, and so that's well put. Now, to play devil's advocate for those who are angry and do realize that we can't just tolerate this, we can't tolerate people killing us, the reasonable people. We can't tolerate people using terror against other people. We can't tolerate that. Yes, we need to do something, but we need to know when is the appropriate time to speak and when is the appropriate time to wield the sword.
Yeah, because I think it's a battle of ideas all the way up until the point where we are physically attacked and you have to defend yourself. So, just like Krishna in the story of Arjuna and Krishna, Krishna tells Arjuna, the prince, who's about to have to fight in a civil war against his brothers. He doesn't want to fight them. He doesn't want to kill his brothers and his family, his kin, but they each lead their own kingdoms and they are attacking each other and his kingdom and killing off the civilians by the thousands and innocent people, women and children. And so Krishna, which is like the charioteer that's like driving the chariot that the prince is riding and is actually God in human form. And he takes this form so that he can teach Arjuna everything he needs to know about life and how to deal with this conflict. And Arjuna understands how to defend his people without hatred and with still having love in his heart. And he doesn't fight until he has to, but he fights. Now what we're saying here is that we don't want to fight. Absolutely, we want to stop a civil war or fractional war from occurring in this country, but we're not saying that people cannot defend themselves if they are attacked. That's all that I'm putting down there. But I think that, and I hope there's a lot of us out there that are really willing to put our bodies out in front, in the middle of this fray, walk between the two opposing sides and try and get them to stop from fighting each other, even if it means we ourselves get shot in the process, because that's exactly what Charlie Kirk did for us. And I want to see more people doing that thing, trying to engage in dialogue no matter what, and not stopping, not giving up to the very last second, even if it means their death, to try and stop widespread murdering and killing of one another.
Well, there's a lot of people online that talk about civil war and they, romanticize it and all that stuff. It ain't going to be good, bro.
It ain't going to be fun. It ain't going to be exciting. You're not going to feel good about what you're doing. You're going to be horrified by what you're doing. You're going to
think about it this way. If we go to civil war, you're going to have to kill somebody you really love and you care about. That's what civil war is. Or you're going to have to watch them die and watch one of your friends kill them. Or you're going to have to watch somebody you love kill another person you love or kill you. That's civil war. And it ain't so civil. It's not the civil, it's and no longer is it, the North versus the South. It's not going to even be neighbor against neighbor. It's going to be within households. You really want to play this game? You want to play the game of constant violence? We can't.
People didn't believe the first civil war in this country and the U.S. was going to happen until it was happening. And even then, they were like showing up to go watch the first battle, thinking that it was going to be like some kind of football game or something like that. And all of a sudden, everybody left the top of that hill horrified and disturbed for the rest of their lives because they saw.
And frankly, I think we're already in it.
Well, we were certainly in at least a cold civil war. But yeah, I mean, you could say, and a lot of people are saying this when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, that was the first shot, that the historians will look back and say this was the beginning. We still have a chance to reel this back, though. They did not have the internet back then. They did not have the chance for millions of people to actually start engaging in dialogue and work through this thing at the rate of speed that we can right now. We can work through this thing together right now. We're not communicating by Pony Express, across miles, and it takes weeks for a letter to get somewhere.
If you want to rally the masses, it takes you a few months before you can do anything. Whereas now, you can do it tomorrow. You can do it within a week.
Yeah, so it could kick off faster too. But I certainly think we have the capacity to have this conversation.
We need to have discipline and discretion and temperance now more than ever. And I'm speaking to all the we's, whether you're on the left or the right or whatever. We need to have this and stop being so emotional. And my plea to those of you that are on the left, that still consider yourself on the left, you need to start calling this stuff out with your friends. And yeah, you're going to get ostracized. You're going to get kicked out from the left. I've been there. It sucks, but it is what it is. And you'll actually find that if you are brave enough to say something, you'll find that you probably get more people with you than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so right now what I'm seeing a lot of is the right start to engage in something very close to the cancel culture that we were seeing on the left, even if it's not happening to the degree. We're certainly starting to see people celebrate the canceling or people losing. I just saw in Ninja Bat, you were just talking about people losing jobs for unethical posts. There's two sides to that one for sure, because certainly a corporation can have bylaws and policies and say, well, we don't like you talking anything violent and this and that.
Well, even beyond that, I can say non-emotionally, it's a good start in the sense that, yes, now as a society, we are starting to show to the point where massive corporations that only care about profit are realizing this is wrong. We can't keep doing this.
And this is a bad look.
And this is a bad look. So culturally, we get.
Oh my God. That reminds me, YouTube just admitted that they censored a bunch of people that were right-wing or independent commentators that said the wrong things.
Oh, dude, I haven't even been paying attention to that because I knew it happened and we saw it. We all saw it happen, and we all, like O'Keefe was on the deal and all that stuff. But
well, I don't think people on the left are aware of this. Certainly, liberal media isn't covering this.
Let me finish where I was at, though.
Yeah.
As far as at the Ninja Bat, at least having people fired for unethical posts is a nonviolent start. Yes, it's a nonviolent start in the sense of the culture is not going to accept it anymore. And it's so much so that the money grubbers realize it and they have to cave. Now, the other end, though, is you can realize it's happening without having to celebrate it. It's like
that's fair.
Winning the battle and realizing there's a lot of death. And yes, you won the battle, but it's not something to celebrate. Or remember that awful movie Avatar? And, so Jake Sully thanks Neytiri for, killing the little beast that were trying to kill him. He's like, thank you. And she grabbed him and was like, you do not thank this. This is sad. Well, that's where we're at. You do not celebrate this. This is sad. Even, the culture's changing, and these terrible teachers and doctors and lawyers and all these people are getting fired for celebrating the death of somebody and celebrating violence. That's good. That's a start. But you don't celebrate that. This is sad. This is sad that we've gotten to the point where we have been so toxified as a culture that over half of us...
We keep othering one another, man.
Over half of us have become okay with othering the other and watching them fall and delighting in it.
The suffering of the other.
It's sick.
It's gross. And aren't people that enjoy the suffering of somebody else kind of evil? And don't we typically say that's wrong? But then when the other side
they're not evil, but... It is. I would say it's a sin, as in you're missing the mark.
You're really missing the mark.
You're missing the mark.
You're definitely playing in that territory.
And not saying you're not going to feel it. Yeah, like, dude, like I feel it. I'm an angry SOB, dude. Like, I'm telling you what, it takes every fiber of my being not to go on the Twitters and celebrate it and show you all the violent stuff I see and people getting their comeuppance and being like,
Fair. Yeah. So Ninja Bat says, I'm not celebrating. I'm just saying it's better than many alternatives for sure.
Yeah, I'm
I'm glad to see the culture condemning this.
That it's
I am glad to see it.
It's a start. It's a good nonviolent
But I think
start.
you really nailed it. But we don't want to just celebrate this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't
you really think like, what would Jesus do in these situations?
And sometimes he has to turn tables, but it was the right place. And contrary to popular belief, it wasn't in the market that he was turning tables over, like these weird activists say.
And we have one story.
They were in the temple, changing money in the temple, which is not the place to change money. Rightfully pissed, because little do people know Jesus was a rabbi. Whether the Jews want to consider him one, he was a rabbi. Definitionally and actually and structurally, he was a rabbi. And he came into the temples and realized what people were doing, and he was pissed. But that didn't mean he went out into the street and started beating people for no reason. He may have chased those guys out into the street.
We're celebrating their suffering for sure, right?
Oh, well, that's...
And we're all getting trapped into this game, man. Like,
but
we're going to get off when we see the other side losing, but, forget the sides is all that we're suggesting, is forget the sides. Sides are going to put us into a very bad position here.
I think it's hilarious.
We're getting too tribal.
Watching the Antifa far left people when the cops just grab them up and, like, throw them onto their asses, like, out of the way. That makes me feel happy on the inside. But I'm not going to go out there and be like, yeah, keep doing it. I'm just going to go, shouldn't have been in the way of that truck. and that's it. And that's as far as I want to go, because even that is terrible. But you're going to feel it. All of us are going to feel it, no matter what side you are. When you see,
and even that is just a fellow human being that was lied to very effectively and got a bad idea in their head. None of us deserve to be lied to. None of us deserve to suffer being ideologically possessed.
We all risk the chance of being lied to and being ideologically possessed. That's dukkha, right?
But it's
threat
still
of the unbalanced wheel.
Yeah,
It's
for
not
sure.
a deserved thing. There's the threat. So all we can do is help teach each other not to fall prey underneath the unbalanced wheel and be crushed to death by it.
Yeah. So check this out. I asked Grok, tell me about how YouTube recently admitted to being pressured by the Biden admin to censor certain channels and types of video subject matter. So here it is. On September 23rd, 2025, Alphabet, Google's parent company, sent a letter to the House Judiciary Committee admitting that senior Biden administration officials, including from the White House, had repeatedly pressured the company to remove or censor user-generated content related to COVID-19, even when that content did not violate YouTube's existing policies. The pressure focused on what the admin deemed misinformation about the pandemic, such as discussions of vaccines, any kind of discussion of a vaccine that they didn't like, treatments, other kinds of treatments, public health policies, as well as some election-related topics. Why election-related, even though that has nothing to do with COVID? Well, Alphabet described the government's outreach as unacceptable and wrong, emphasizing that it resisted such efforts on free speech grounds, but acknowledged that the political atmosphere influenced platform actions during the time. Oh my God, what were you about to say, brother?
I was going to say they used the flagging election-related stuff.
Yeah,
because they can't say, they can't say the things like, well, the videos of obvious ballot stuffing or people fiddling with stuff or people putting money in other places, because it would make one side look guilty. So they say election related, but we know which videos got taken down. We know which people who are following it got booted off the interwebs.
Yeah.
So
and this happened on many different social media platforms at the time. I know it was happening on Twitter. It was happening on Facebook. It happened to me on Facebook.
They took down an entire social media platform, Parler, because of this stuff.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So we'll go back to the reading.
So here we go. Yeah, this admission stems from a multi-year Republican-led investigation by the House Judiciary Committee and its select subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government, which probed how tech companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon handled content moderation under alleged government influence. The probe uncovered emails and documents showing sustained Biden White House communications urging stricter enforcement against perceived misinformation, including it gives them a loophole, including content that was lawful or true but contradicted official narratives. Oh my God, dude! Even content that was lawful and true but contradicted the narrative they wanted to get across.
Okay, so
go back.
Here's the hypocrisy. This Jimmy Kimmel stuff when they're saying, "Oh, President Trump called people up," and the FFA director said all this stuff. This is horrible, and all the politicians and all the media came out and say, "Oh, this is horrible and overreach." Where were you for the last 4 years? Where were you for the last 8? When it was 2016, what is it now? Where were you for the last
people were
10
arguing
years,
as to why the government could censor?
Yeah. So that's some hypocrisy, some severe hypocrisy. And yet again, this is why you don't get angry. This is why you don't do stupid stuff. This is why you don't act violent.
This is why you try and look at information from all sides that you can possibly get. Speaking of ground news,
crap.
Yeah,
yeah, right. Not sponsored.
We need to get
not sponsored.
We need to get that sponsor. That would be a good sponsor for us.
But hey, check out
I love
Ground
News. Ground News is on point.
And actually, even their free version is really good for a good snapshot of the topical, most popular news.
You see what the articles are from the left, articles from the right,
not
independent
sponsored.
center. Yeah. And let's jump back here. So, for instance, YouTube independently enforced its own policies, which have since been rolled back, but confirmed that external pressure played a role in amplifying censorship efforts. So they did independently enforce their own policies related to the same stuff that the government was telling them to censor. They did their own censorship campaign, which has also since been rolled back.
Yep.
And then they also confirmed external pressure did play a role, though, in amplifying our censorship.
I'm sorry, Ninja Bat. Yes, FCC. Did I say FAA? I meant FCC.
Yeah.
Dyslexia. Anyway.
In response, YouTube announced a policy shift, allowing creators whose channels were permanently banned for repeated violations of its now defunct COVID-19 and election integrity rules to apply for reinstatement. This could affect thousands of accounts, including those of public figures like Dan Bongino, Sebastian Gorka. They should be able to be sued for this because a lot of these people, like there are a lot of smaller YouTubes that were starting to make a living off their channels and then they were just canceled. Steve
Well,
Bannon removed for sharing views on vaccines, election claims, or related topics. I'm sure some of you just heard some of those names, and they're like, "Well, they should be banned because they have
I don't
dangerous
like Steve
ideas that
Bannon.
cause
Yeah.
violence." Yeah,
I don't much like him either, but he's not a horrible
speech
fucking dude.
is not violence, fam. Violence is violence. Actual physical violence is violence. That's what we use that word for. Alphabet also stated that it would no longer rely on third-party fact checkers and criticized European censorship laws for threatening U.S. free speech. Really, Alphabet, gosh, you guys are so fickle. They just jump back and forth. They pretend to be on this side. They pretend to be on that side.
Can I pause you real quick? The other thing with the, censoring, YouTube people and other stuff like that, there is still algorithmic pressure on even channels like this that is just on there and nobody knows that it's there. Like, because I've seen it, quite a few different podcasters start a new side podcast and like a new thing. It's basically the same thing, but it's on a new channel and they're getting the big growth that you normally would.
Okay.
Whereas everything's stagnating. So it's like how many of the smaller podcasters, because you said the naughty word and they put the algorithm on it, or the algorithm on it, are dealing with algorithmic censorship that no longer has a human behind it. It's just stuck in there,
Yeah,
and we
what I was
forgot the code.
Wondering, yeah, because like how many lines of code did we write to censor certain types of words on YouTube that they have to now track down and pull back and remove? Because I don't even know if you can keep track of it all. A lot of it is just teaching the thing to intelligently locate certain types of thought patterns that are deemed inappropriate, and it creates its own kind of algorithm
and
to
actually,
do that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't even like, we are all trying to be careful about like, what do you put in your thumbnail and what do you put in the the title? Like, you have to be careful about that. But what about, what kind of people are viewing your channel and stuff like that, and like the algorithm looking at that and be like, okay, well, we see a bunch of, say, like independent centrists looking at certain things, so we're going to just say this cohort of people, if they go to they go to these type of things, the algorithm will go ahead and smush it out. So, and we're probably still dealing with it. And that's where I'm a firm believer of like, open code, open source. If your product's not stable and basically stable enough for you to open the code to other people, it's not a product worth having. And they'd be like, well, if you open the code, the hackers and stuff like that. And what was it? Was it Microsoft or was it? No, it was Chrome. Chrome got like, what was it? Like 5 0-day exploits within a day. And what a 0-day exploit is it's been 0 days since we found it. So we don't know until we found it, something like that. And they're getting exploited all the time. No, open your code, open what your algorithms were. Let us all take a look at it. Let the nerds get in there. And then if you do that, we might not sue you into oblivion. Because I think Alphabet needs to be sued into oblivion and broken up. YouTube can probably be used to be broken up too, even though it's under Alphabet. Google needs to be broken up. Let's use these antitrust laws. Let's start busting up these monopolies again. We've done it before with mixed results, particularly depending on who you talk to, but that's where the fight really is. And it's not a physical fight. It's a fight with words, with ideas, with information. Bullets are really effective in war, but it's more effective? Propaganda, information.
Yep.
So effective that actually the Soviet Union sowed the seeds of all this crap in us a long time, and then they're no longer around, and we're still dealing with this.
Yeah. Yeah, because the same tactics that they use can always be re-employed, reconfigured, and now we have this kind of neo-Marxism that's perfectly tailored to take the U.S. apart from the inside out, and so that is certainly being employed right now, and I would think by corporate entities involved in the WEF.
Yeah, well, we went from
corporate dictatorship dream going.
We went from America, fuck yeah, to America, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like real quick.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, what the hell, man?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Like, America, we got our problems, but we're awesome. And if you want to be an American, you just got to try hard and do the paperwork and come here and assimilate. I'll take you in, and I don't care what color, what shape you are. You know, even if you're an extraterrestrial alien, you want to be an American, just got to go through the process, bruh.
Yeah.
That's all we want. Like the reasonable people on the right that don't like mass immigration, illegal immigration, and all that stuff, just take the legal process. But it's gotten so far that like, well, now we can't take anybody for a while because we got to deal with this problem, and now it sucks for everyone.
Yep.
So,
So to finish this out, similar revelations
oh yeah, here we go.
come from other platforms. Meta, Facebook, admitted in 2024 to facing comparable Biden administration pressure. That's right, Zuck admitted that on an episode of Joe Rogan. And internal documents from earlier investigations showed coordinated efforts across tech giants to suppress content on Hunter Biden, the laptop. Remember that? That could have lost the election
the
right
Russian
then.
disinformation where there were a whole bunch of intelligence people signed a letter saying that
and
it
they ended up not being
had
true.
all the hallmarks of
The 2020. Some people still believe that one. Even though it's been thoroughly disproven. The 2020 election was another one you couldn't talk about, and COVID-19. Now on X, when it was formerly Twitter, reactions included praise from figures like Elon Musk for the policy reversal, alongside discussions highlighting the pattern of government tech collaboration during the pandemic. Critics from various sides argue this underscores broader concerns about jawboning, government indirectly influencing private companies to censor speech through a 2024 Supreme Court ruling limited challenges, though a 2024 Supreme Court ruling limited challenges to such practices. Jesus, what? Why?
So
That's screwy.
as far as the Facebook thing, also I think Zuckerberg in front of Congress admitted to as much as well. So it wasn't just Joe Rogan. Yeah, and as far as Elon praising Twitter's turning the other cheek and uncensoring, that never happened until Musk got it, and then everybody started hating Musk because he opened it up, and then they're like, well, now X is nothing but a right-wing cesspool. It's like, well, because most normal people seem, as if you're super far left, seem to be super far right. But also, free speech. Yeah, I see a lot of like legitimate racists that don't like black or brown people on there. But, screw them. It's their stupid words online and their stupid memes online. Make better memes, bruh. And as far as people on the left, well, if y'all didn't flee to what's that new the blue sky, if you didn't flee to the blue sky to hang out with all the PDF files and all that over there, you would have a voice on X as long as you just don't scream for violence. And hey, there's still TikTok, which everybody can do their Tylenol challenges and all that stuff on the TikTok. But yeah, like there was hardcore censorship against the center and the right, or really anybody who wanted to question, like, why are you injecting me with an experimental gene therapy and forcing me to get it? Why is it when I post something that would just normal be like, yeah, against the man, it's fine. Now I'm no longer allowed to post. And if you want to know how far that gets, just look at Britain, like there's a video, I don't know the accuracy of the video, but it looks pretty accurate, where there's two lady cops that want the phone of a little girl who viewed a post that was, could be interpreted as offensive. And it's to the point now where you can't pray in public in Britain. Well, if you're a Christian, you can't pray in public because it could offend somebody or scare somebody. But
if you're Muslim, you
well,
can.
around like all of these churches in the middle of the
What
street.
about if you're Jewish?
Oh no, you're not allowed to. But also Jews don't pray in public most of the time.
Yeah.
They're not a proselytizing.
But you are
people.
allowed to if you're Muslim.
Oh yeah, no, you can en masse, and there's plenty of pictures. You can go check it out. In every single European country, they'll surround churches, get in the middle of the street, lay down their stupid little rugs. And I'm sorry if I offend you.
What is this course correction thing that we do where we try and like do the thing that was done to make it better? Like, oh, there was white people that were racist towards people of color in the past. Let's be racist against them now because they did that to us. Now they get to feel how it is.
Well, that's because the people,
even though we're saying it's wrong to do that, now we're going to do the wrong thing. And so that's the same thing.
Well,
over
it's
there.
the people running our countries and our worlds and our NGOs and at the heads of
Muslims
all of our
are being
movements.
oppressed, so now only they can pray and you guys can't.
They're mentally stunted adults with the mental capacity of children. Now, they may be very smart and be able to do stuff like, do their taxes and money launder and do all that stuff, but they have the mental reasoning of children. And what a children does is you hit me in the head with the block, I'm going to hit you in the head with the block, and then we're fair, right?
So if everyone should be allowed to pray, then everyone should be allowed to pray. I feel like would be the logical conclusion, not, well, these people weren't allowed to in the past, and now all you guys can't, even though you guys weren't alive back then, and now these guys can, so we're going to make it better that way.
Well, there's also another thing is
racism's wrong, so we're going to be racist against you now.
There's there's a great evil in this world, and it is a multi-headed dragon.
God.
With many crowns, and one of them is radical Islam that wants to take over, and they're very clear about what they want to do with the West. They want to take over the West, and they want to turn it into their S-hole countries, to the point where your more moderate Islam countries, they don't want to deal with that because they know what that entails. And then you have a bunch of weak-backed men and women, say like in England, that they don't want to be called racist, so they can't call out the brutal graping and murdering and all the knife attacks. It's like, oh man, where was it? Was it Britain, or it was one of the European countries? It's like one rape a day, or no, one rape an hour. And that's just the ones that are reported. 1 an hour, just reported. How many hours in a day? How many days in a week? How many weeks in a month? How many months in a year?
God, dude.
And we don't want to call that out. And yet again, let's not become those demons. You just can't go out there and be like, oh, well, you're brown and you're a Muslim, so I'm going to shoot you. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And if you think that way, you're stupid too. And I'm not saying that to insult you. I mean, like, your intelligence has been broken.
Well, it's a stupid action. It's not going to get you the result that you want.
Now, mind you, you can go out there. Like, I think it's wonderful that there's women in Europe that decide to get pet pigs so they don't get harassed by the Muslim men.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, because they'll run from pigs. They'll kick your dog, but they'll run from pigs. And that's the way they have to do it, man.
Oh, my God.
So that's a great non-violent way of doing it. Use their weaknesses against them.
These are the strangest times.
Oh, yeah, dude.
These are sad. These are disruptive. These are destabilized. And these are confusing times. We're all so friggin' deluded.
They turned on the Large Hadron Collider back in 2012. They had that weird satanic ritual beforehand and turned it on, and now we're in another universe.
Fam, what are we gonna do about this, guys?
Nelson Mandela did not die when we thought he did. It's not the Berenstein. It's not the Berenstein Bears. It's the Berenstein Bears. What's another one of these Mandela effects?
I concur. Bacon rules. I think that's something that we can all agree on, Ninja Bet.
Hey, even if you don't eat bacon, it still smells good, don't it?
Doge for the algorithm police. That sounds like a good idea.
Oh yeah, well yeah, exactly. We need to really get into the algorithm. So this is how we don't become the demons that we're fighting. You don't wrestle with them and stab them the way you do. You use knowledge. You use the word. You use all the other ways that we actually can do. And they want us to kill each other.
The really tricky one, but this is the most powerful move you can make once you cultivate this, is to not allow other people to have the power to influence your own emotional state. Don't let these people piss you off so easily. Don't let them rile you up emotionally so easily. You're giving them power over your own emotions. You get to choose how you respond and feel at any time. And the more riled up we are, the closer we are to war, and the more likely we are to not act logically and to just get caught up in a tit for tat kind of a game. Because when someone's nasty towards you, it is really, really hard to not be nasty back. You know the feeling. It's hard, man.
It's really funny when you go completely neutral face and just go, okay, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then
don't give them the
and
power.
then you can watch their faces like, and just, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever you say, bro. And that's the sick portion of myself being like, it's like, dude, that is the best feeling, is when somebody's freaking out on you. And they want to start something, you're just like...
And if anyone sees that happening, the one that's the most reasonable and calm is typically going to seem like the person that knows better.
And also...
so if you want to get your ideas across, that's the way to do it.
And it's probably the person who will be able to land the punch exactly where it needs to be if the fight does progress. Because when you're irrational and you get worked up, you're not able to function properly.
Yeah. A lot of your blood is in your arms and legs because you're ready to fight or flight, whether you like it or not. That's what happens in our bodies physiologically. But if you're very calm and you're not letting them emotionally trick you, then you have more blood and oxygen in the brain where you need it to be able to process and figure out how to make that perfect rebuttal at that perfect time.
But there are some really unique people that are able to, like, even people that are really mad at them.
They're able to stay angry and still make points. Those people impress me.
They can get them to laugh.
Oh yeah,
like,
no,
chuckle
no.
and
If
just
you
be
can
like-
get someone to laugh, man, that's another level, dude.
I
Yeah.
actually saw one. It was the best way to diffuse like a super hardcore quote unquote blacktivist radical that was like some young mixed kid, really dark skin, but I think he was probably like more like Indian dark opposed to like just African dark, but mixed up. He was like, who's picking the cotton? Black people with my skin. Who's doing this? Mexicans. Who's planting the rice? Asians. So he's probably like black, Mexican, and Asian and all that stuff. And the person interviewing would be like, yeah, would you let somebody peg you? And the dude's eyebrow just went up.
What? Like, what the
Just walked up and was like, that's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, hit him with it. And they're just like, and the funny thing is, you could tell this guy thought, like, at first he was like, what? And then his eyebrow went off and thought it was hilarious and then just had to walk away because like, his whole argument was destroyed. It's like, that's the way to do it, Well, what is that? There's a movie or something. It's you got to, laugh at the demons or ghosts or whatever to get them to, go away. What is that? Oh, that was It.
Oh yeah. I gotta ask, what is a blacktivist in our modern language?
American black activist, where everything's about the black struggle and the,
So someone that drank the BLM Kool-Aid,
the BLM
perhaps?
people, the black nationalists, the black Hebrew Israelite people, the ones who will the Wakanda forever.
So this is another
people.
one of those culture things we were talking about.
The ones who wear dashiki, but like their mom's white or their dad's white, or whatever, and they'll be like, back to Africa, and then when they go to Africa, they complain and
white
cry.
People for everything.
Yeah, blacktivist. There's white
a
blacktivists
racist
as well.
Okay, so a racist, far left, typically person that happens to be a person of color. Often they aren't a person of color, though, right? They can.
Well,
be.
No. This specifically, so they are usually people who are black.
Okay. So this is probably a term that I guess that some independent and conservative black people might use for black people that are far leftist.
I came up with it. That's my term.
Okay.
Somebody else might use it, but that's how I can describe so when it comes to like the
I'm asking because it's borderline to where
actually,
someone could be like, you're racist for
saying
saying that.
Call me a racist, whatever. I have black friends and they love me and I love them back, damn it. But I use the term blacktivist because like I've seen a trend where like in the Antifa stuff and the BLM stuff and stuff like that, you'll see the organizers and they're all usually like liberal white women or very effeminate men. And then you'll see the people that they put in the front with the microphones and stuff like that, and it's usually, a black girl,
blacktivist,
or a mixed girl, because most black people in America are like very mixed, and there's gradations of what they're called. We're not allowed to use those words anymore. Like mulatto, you say mulatto, they look at you like you're evil, or quadroon, which means you're a quarter black, which you just basically look Italian at that point. But no, they put the black girls and the black boys up front with the microphones, and then you have the trans people or the violent people with the masks, the they thems, and they go out and do the violence.
Antifa.
And then you have the white dudes, the white straight dudes on the bottom that are just basically like the lowest class in the system.
Yeah.
And I think Andy Noah has talked about this, but I came up with the term blacktivist because that's the best way to everybody, the people who think everything's the black cause. And the people that believe that everything that's wrong with black culture and black people all around the world and in America is because of somebody else, whether it's the whites or the Jews or lighter skinned black people or black people.
Well, we've talked to this.
White.
Like it is funny that the kind of the quote unquote ghetto culture actually comes from poor, light skinned, quote unquote white people, Scottish and English, poor, right? Like Hackney.
So in Thomas Sowell's book, what is it? Black Rednecks and White Liberals. He gets into this where it's so the term cracker.
Thomas Sowell is great too, guys.
And mind you don't know he's a black dude.
He's still alive, and he's like in his 90s now.
And he's still sharp. He's still super sharp.
Yeah.
And when he was real young, he was a Marxist communist too, and then he realized it was stupid. But anyway, in that book, he talks about the term cracker. Where the term cracker comes from is not the man who cracks the whip. It's the wise cracker. The people that, live fast, die young. So you get all the girls and you're worried about getting disrespected and you starting fights and back in the day, they were racing their steamboats. So they would, weld close the safety hatches so they go a little further.
They had all kinds of like shorthand slang and stuff. And
sure. And
then when they came over to the Americas.
Well, so within the Americas, really, I think it was
They developed their own culture. Well, they came from poor parts of Europe.
Yeah, so the real cracker
Ireland,
culture fully
Scotland,
developed in
English.
Southern America, and you can see it in the churches. So there is the sing-songy black churches, but then there's the leaning over the pulpit, hellfire and whatever. Well, also if you look at the Southern Baptist churches that are white, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So there's and naturally when peoples get together, we adopt each other's cultures, particularly if there's one dominant culture.
Well, that's why
and then
regions have different cultures to them.
But what ended up happening is blacks in the South were either willingly or kind of forced economically up into the North. And mind you, Northern blacks did not want Southern cracker, quote unquote, blacks coming up into their areas because they were already integrating with the whites in their areas.
Yeah.
And then they see these guys that are just loud and nasty and awful and horrible. And mind you, the white people didn't like cracker white people either.
No.
Nobody really liked the hillbilly and the redneck. We still kind of don't. You know what I mean? Now, mind you, I like my hillbilly friends. They're geniuses. They're just a little rough. You know?
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
redneck is an unfair one because that term originally was just for the guys that wore the red handkerchiefs on the back of their necks.
Yeah,
like coal
or
miners in
farmers
West
that
Virginia.
got burnt up on their necks or whatever. But yeah, so there was a trade of cultures, and now we've got the blacktivists trying to stand up for this Southern cracker culture. And I delight in calling ignorant black people, blacktivist people crackers when they're saying horrible names and they're racist towards me and all that stuff. I'm like, you're sounding like a cracker. It makes their brain go, huh? And then they can't handle it.
Because
we
we
like,
know,
what do you mean?
because Thomas
I ain't
Sowell,
white. And it's like, that's not what cracker
Thomas
means.
Sowell gave us a little bit of insight into where that culture comes from. So, because when you meet black people from other countries, other places, they're very different often than American. And even American black people have so much difference among them. There's so many different groups within, just like with white and every other color.
I think the
take on the culture of where we are raised and where we grow up.
I think the problem is cities.
Man, I mean,
frankly.
like there's wannabe gangster acting white dudes.
That's the worst. We had a name for them. I'm not going to use
Asian,
it.
You get it in Latinos. You get it in everything, and it's a culture issue. It's certainly not a skin color issue. We're not saying that black people are by and large anyway.
It's not a genetic issue either.
There's more differences inside of groups amongst the people in those groups than there are between different groups. There's so much variance of preference and ways of being and how we act and what we believe.
Back to the initial question, blacktivist. Why do I use the term blacktivist? Because it describes a very specific leftist activist, which is the racial activist on the African American side of things. Also, the British, I guess, like Islander British American things side of things. Now, there are the other activists. Like we're all used to the liberal white Karens. You can be a boy or a girl and be a Karen. But BLM was a problem. I think BLM should be considered a terrorist organization as well. But you really can't do that because that is domestically homegrown. That isn't like something that's all over Europe as well. But they caused billions of dollars worth of damage.
But they definitely drank the Marxist Kool-Aid, and they are trained Marxists that started BLM, and they kept all the money to themselves and bought mansions and didn't do anything for black people.
And the thing is if you're a Marxist, you can be a Marxist in America, but that's not how our government works. So you can go get your plot of land, you can buy your plot of land, and you can live your Marxist utopia on that plot of land. Fine.
Yeah.
Don't force that stuff on anybody else. And also, can we please get rid of racial identitarianism?
Yeah.
I'd rather see.
Well, that's why when you first said blacktivist, I was like, whoa, because you're using the color, associating it with a negative thing, and I was like, this could really come off the wrong way to a lot of people.
And also I
wanted to make sure we covered.
Yeah, and I refuse to use the word people of color. That's just like saying colored people, and I find that offensive.
And of course, you don't mean it in any denigrating way towards black people in general by any means. You're talking about a certain kind of person,
certain kind of activist geared towards it. And there are white blacktivists, but we laugh at them because they look funny. Right, because they're trying to do the struggle and speak that way. Like imagine a white Huey Freeman from the Boondocks, or actually,
so you're pretending to be about something so you can seem like you're on the side of right, but you're decades late to this bandwagon.
But also, they're racial identitarians.
It's like all the progressives of today are disappointed because they didn't jump on the bandwagon when we were trying to start an anti-war movement back during Bush Cheney. And now, they've all become so regressive in their mentality. They have no idea what bandwagon they jumped on because it was bait and switch. It was a cultural Marxist trap. And God, man, I wish people just did their homework and would actually challenge their own conceptions sometimes. We would actually be getting somewhere.
So, in short, Not a racist. I don't like racial identitarianism. I'm
Yeah,
down
God.
with I'm down
Can we
with
stop with that shit?
I'm down with national identitarianism. I think that's like kind of the best way we can organize ourselves. But that racial identitarian, I don't like it. I don't like white nationalism. Now, mind you, like with the Brits, they are losing their country, and they are actually white people because like they've been white people for 2,000 freaking well, 1,000 years as far as English go, and 2,000 years as far as the people invading England and setting up stuff. But yeah, but that's like race is crap, dude. If you want to like, there's a lot of crappy white people, a lot of crappy black people. And if you want to just say like, I only deal with one race of people because all the other ones are crap, well, you're just missing all the flavors of the rainbow, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But I'm not a racist, but I am a culturist. And I've said this before on the podcast. Some cultures are better than others, and some are just like really destructive and crap, and we shouldn't deal with them.
Oh, you mean the ones that mutilate little girls' bodies are not good? The ones that don't let women drive? They're not. You don't think those are good cultures? Huh?
The ones that believe in honor killing. The ones that
but that's their culture. We should accept all cultures.
Well, no, I'm not going to accept it when you move into my culture and you trash my culture and you tell us we're so awful, but then you can't even clean up your own neighborhoods.
If they stone gay people, that's their culture, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, yeah, right.
So here we are. Here we are.
I'm not a utopian. Yeah. And I love like all different types of cultures. Don't get me wrong. Even the ones that I think that aren't as good as the West. There's a lot of really cool things and really insightful things about them. Like, then the one thing that makes America really great is when we can take different cultures and actually properly integrate the best of those cultures in with the American culture.
Yes.
Because every culture has a nugget of goodness that you can get out of it, and usually a bunch of crap.
Well, we are a multicultural melting pot here, and what's so beautiful about the U.S.
But some cultures are refusing to melt right now, and I have a problem with that.
Yes, of course we have problems with that. But just look at what mixing our cultures together, taking the best of the best and putting them together happen. You get jazz, soul, rock and roll, stand-up comedy. You get freaking Hollywood movies. Hollywood used to be amazing. Like, well, it always had issues, but they produced some pretty profound works as well because there were great artists within that community. But yeah, man, I mean, we're being mad if we can't celebrate what the multiculturalism of this country has brought the world. There's a reason that the whole world emulates America.
Let's not use that word though, because multicultural is loaded.
Well, sure, it's misunderstood.
Multi-ethnic. And selecting the best of each culture. We need to come up with a new word because multicultural.
That's why I said multicultural melting pot, because they're mixing together.
Let's call it fondue culture.
The melting pot is the better term than the multicultural.
Let's call it fondue culture. It's kind of like melting good cheeses together, you know, and all the crap just settles to the bottom that you can't get, and you dip along the middle and the top, and you get the best of it.
There we go.
Fondue culture. I am down with.
Figure this out together, fam.
Are you Munster? Are you Cheddar?
If we can get out of our friggin' egos and stop being identitarians over every little thing, you have ideas, you have preferences. You are not your preferences.
Yeah.
You know? You can love your country and still be wary of blind nationalism.
Okay, there's a good line here that made me giggle. Ninja Bat line. I'm a saltine.
I saw that.
LMAO.
And
maybe a Ritz.
Maybe Ritz.
But not a Triscuit. I know you, Ninja Bat, personally. You're definitely not a Triscuit. And then it's Karen or Chad. No, Chad is a positive. Chad is like the Chad. Everybody wants to be the Chad. You know, he's got the nice chin, and it looks like he's been mewing and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
No, it's just Karen. Boy Karen, girl Karen. Karen.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Karen's been useful for us. I feel bad for all the Karens, like actual Karens that are nice, right? That are nice people.
If your name's Karen, I'm not hating you for it.
But the term is very helpful because that is a certain kind of person.
Yeah.
So, fam, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We're trying to figure this thing out together.
Sorry for offending a bunch of y'all. If we go down in subscriptions, that's my bad.
Let me see if we got any thoughts or questions here on the Rumble side of things. We're still growing on the Rumble. Hey, guys, if you're tired of being on YouTube, come on over to Rumble. I think YouTube was just a little bit late on unveiling their censorship practices. But, hey, that's a bit of good news. And
better late than never, right?
You know, it is the good news roundup, so we'll celebrate that. That's great to see. Now people actually know that Tylenol has had issues for years that was not getting to the public. but several reputable studies together are showing a very large correlation between the high level of vaccines and Tylenol being taken during pregnancy. We don't know if the vaccines have anything to do with it for sure, but we certainly know that Tylenol during pregnancy increases the rates of autism, ADHD, and things like that by huge percentage points. So it's very clear that something is happening here. And if you cut Tylenol out, which even Tylenol themselves says don't take us when you're pregnant, then we might be able to turn back the amount of people that are being born with debilitating degrees of autism and ADHD.
But here's the thing that gets me. Why do you got to give kids under the age of 5 a crap ton of shots?
Or methamphetamines.
We didn't do that before, but well, here's the thing: you give them a whole crap ton of shots, and like, why does
all at once too?
Yeah,
like 40 of them.
And why does your baby need to be inoculated against, like HPV? And,
because the mother might have it. So why don't you just test the mother then?
Well, and also other
test the mother for the disease prior
like
to vaccinating the baby.
Hepatitis vaccines and stuff. It's like, seems like you're preparing to do stuff to children. Not going to say what, because we are riding.
They're just making money too, though. They are certainly just making money. It's the big pharma companies that they just they're soulless.
Well, and here's the thing too: is I'm not going to 100% completely condemn the pharma industry, because if it wasn't for pharmaceuticals, we'd be dying of stub toes and other things. There are benefits, but we need to keep them in check, and we need to make them realize they work for us, not the other way around. We are not their guinea pigs. They work for us. We are their shareholders, and we're the users of their product. Like, if you really want to make Pfizer hurt and Moderna hurt and all these other companies, buy a bunch of shares in them, to the point where you can get enough people to have enough shares to be like, oh, we aren't happy with this, and we got these shares here.
Yeah, start forming lobbies.
It would be terrible if we just started all selling it off.
So, and much love to you too, Ninja Bat.
Yeah,
he said love you too. Love you guys, I guess is what he's saying. Keep it real. Actuali equals the calm during the storm. Hell yeah.
I'm glad you think so, because I'm an angry son.
If we can achieve any semblance of that, then I am relieved, because all we want to do is help in what little way we can to help calm the fires. So
good news.
Yeah, we got some good news. The birth of UK's only bonobo baby gives fresh hope for the world's most endangered ape. In the time of increasing discord and bad news, here's some actual good news, fam. Conservationists and zookeepers are celebrating our closest living relative giving birth to a healthy baby. Heart-tugging photos show the bonobo mother, Yuli, cradling her tiny newborn. Oh, look at her face, too, man. She's so happy.
Bonobos, by the way, are the
looking with love upon whoever's taking that picture. Like, this is my baby.
They are the equivalent of the Athenian apes, opposed to the Spartan apes, which would be the chimpanzees.
The chimps, yeah, right? Yeah. Experts have hailed the birth as a globally significant moment, which could help save one of the world's rarest apes and humanity's cousin.
I think her closest cousin, right?
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah, Twycross Zoo is the only UK zoo to care for the species, and says the new arrival has the distinguished status as the only baby bonobo in the whole country. The infant's mother, Yuli, arrived at Twycross Zoo from someplace in France as part of the European-led conservation program in 2023.
That's valet.
Oh yeah, valet.
The E is an A.
They sing maybe. So bonobos are humans' closest living relatives, yet they remain one of the most endangered and least understood apes on Earth, says Rebecca Bindle, Chief Conservation Officer at Twycross Zoo. Every birth is a true milestone and a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when zoos work together. Hey, heck yeah, thank you for helping save. Yeah, in the wild, their bonobo's population is said to be decreasing due to many human-caused threats such as poaching, deforestation.
Yeah, maybe, but also the fact that they're too peaceful and they're probably getting.
Yeah.
It's just they're coming to the end of their evolutionary.
Let's hope not, man, because there's a lot of peaceful animals out there that survive just fine. Conservation program looks after 10% of all bonobos in Europe and is a key part of the collaborative effort between European Association of Zoos and Aquaria. That's so cool, man. I love monkeys and apes. Okay.
How
This
dare
one's
you
cool
call them
too.
monkeys? Are you
I
a
know.
species? They're
Monkeys
not
and
monkeys.
apes. And apes.
And apes. Okay.
Engineering
Okay.
students turn red Solo cups into stylish sweaters that don't shed microplastics. I like
Wait,
this.
how does
Anything
that
we
work?
can do to repurpose plastic and make it useful instead of shedding microplastics.
Hey, high density polyethylene is infinitely reusable, by the way.
There you go. A college, and we could be making bioplastics too. So a college engineering student, and we could be growing hemp to do that, so we're not using up like corn for food and things. A college engineering student is making headlines for her clothing line that spins red Solo cups thrown away after fraternity parties into soft sweaters and beanie caps. The process addresses every concern or question one might have and is finding a second life for these hard to recycle cups. Okay, so these are the girls that must be doing the thing.
And I think these solo cup are some type of polystyrene, or are they like a high density polystyrene?
Good question, yeah. So they're made by companies like Solo and Hefty. They're a staple across American parties across the nation. God only knows how many are used and tossed, blah, 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 every year. Enter Lauren Troy, an engineering student formerly at Johns Hopkins University, who founded the New Normal Collective after discovering a way that these cups could be turned into textiles. She's long had an interest in sustainable fashion, but it was after she graduated in 2020 that she was able to secure a grant to buy an extruder machine, which she can turn shredded plastic into thread. Okay, she tried buying one of these machines herself in her parents' garage during the school years and knew that they were the key to turning her vision into reality. She relied on 2 other engineering colleges to provide a non-toxic natural material that would turn the achy, plasticky feeling thread into a soft, comfortable knitwear-ready yarn.
Okay, so they're adding something back into it.
What's the non-toxic natural material? I'm
I'd like
very
to know.
interested. Okay, so she's got a grant from Reynolds Consumer Products, the parent company of Hefty. That's pretty cool. Her supply chain now is anchored in North Carolina and Virginia. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So we're getting rid of lots of plastic micro shedding. Okay, so spun yarn, typical of wood products, is made from many small threads spun together, while filament yarn is continuous unbroken thread. The advantage of the latter is that it prevents a major source of pollution from artificial textiles, microplastic shedding.
I don't necessarily believe that.
I don't
because-
understand why. Every time spun yarn made from polyester or other artificial textiles is washed, it sheds some of its threads.
That's true.
These in turn enter the environment as air, water pollution, and represent a major contributor.
Okay, so they're using
So the 3D knitting it produces a whole garment without any fabric scraps.
Yeah, so what they're doing
see what they're saying.
is monofilament.
Yep.
So instead of pieces coming out of it and shedding out of it, the only shedding you're going to get is off of friction rubbing.
Ah, okay. And also
Yeah.
3D knitting has a lot less waste compared
Yeah.
to traditional cut
Yeah.
and sew where many fabric scraps are wasted. Instead, our pieces are knit straight out of the machine without any seams. It's just one full garment that doesn't need additional sewing. Ah, no artificial dyes are used. The colors come from the cups themselves. The Guardian reports that the new norm, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, they're popular, is what they're saying.
Well, so to
cool.
to
Okay.
expand upon,
They're a little expensive.
I mean, 45 to 80. Dude, you got like a cheap sweater at Walmart is $45
Yeah,
at
I
this
guess
point.
maybe that's right around the range nowadays.
But to expand upon that is your high density polyethylene, which is your HDPE number 2, and also polypropylene, which might be number 2, or no, not polypropylene PP. Those are both almost infinitely recyclable. High density polyethylene doesn't need to be heated up to the point of burning in order to turn it into filaments. And you wouldn't necessarily make clothes out of it, but all your little plasticky bits and the casings on stuff and stuff like that, you can make out of your water jugs, the caps, all that stuff. So
Ninja
like,
Bets here is saying that there's a guy that makes fuel from plastics.
yeah, it's
Yeah, we'll have to look him
it's
up.
called
and cover-
Pyrolysis. There's actually quite a few people.
That's
there's
awesome.
there's a couple in Nicaragua that will take the plastic waste from the people on the island, and then they'll get the people on the island will give them like coconut husks to burn to run this reactor. So what you do is you take the plastic, you put it in a sealed container that doesn't have any oxygen out of it. So you purge it with like carbon dioxide or something like that first. And then you heat that up, and you basically distill all of the hydrocarbons out of that, and then you get your, process of, your kerosene, or what is it, diesel kerosene, or it's kerosene diesel, gasoline. You can get all of that out of it depending on how you still it. And there's a lot of people that are doing that, and it's good that we do it because there are landfills that need to be mined eventually to get this stuff back. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't.
Well, it's just all leaking into the groundwater anyway. The microplastics are getting everywhere.
Or well, even beyond, like you say, macroplastics that are just sitting there that aren't rotting away that can still be used. Like how many?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How many water jugs and high density polypropylene?
Well, there's fuel right there.
or
Easy mining. Yeah.
Well, you can do it for fuel, or you can direct make products out of it. So products or
Wow,
fuel
man.
to extend it. Like
What a
it's
cool
there.
What a cool thought that people are going to start mining landfills.
Yeah. Well,
You know, to actually pull
Or-
energy out of them.
or the best case scenario is stop taking your crap and
That's so cool.
putting it in the recycling bin, and they just take it and they throw it in a landfill until somebody buys it. Usually, most of our recyclables don't get recycled. If you can take it to somebody that actually directly makes it into fuel, or turns it into 3D printing filament, depending on what the material is, because your plastic bags and other stuff like that are a little bit harder to work with. Different plastics are harder, but almost all plastics, they're hydrocarbons. If you put them in a oxygen-free environment and you heat the crap out of them and distill them out, you'll get fuel from it, because you could just basically turn them back down into oil, crude oil, and distill them again.
Awesome.
It's there. It's worth doing. The Lord knows that we're going to need it because our renewables aren't up there, and our renewables actually really harm the planet way worse than we thought, and probably just as bad or worse than any fossil fuel, as far as land mass destroyed to make these things. And
Yeah.
we need solutions.
We do indeed.
But fusion's right around the corner. That's what they keep saying.
Yeah, right. Hey, so we got one more good piece of good news for the evening before we close out, fam. This one's great news for a lot of people. Scientists find a switch that could stop osteoporosis, making bones stronger in old age. There's a high demand, of course, for safe and long-lasting medications to treat bone loss for the millions of people with osteoporosis. Discovering new targets for drug development is therefore a key step towards better therapies. In a recent study, scientists in Leipzig, University in Germany, demonstrated that the G protein receptor GPR133 plays a central role in building and maintaining healthy bone. If this receptor is impaired by genetic changes, mice show signs of loss of bone density at an earlier age, similar to osteoporosis in humans, explains Professor Ines Liebscher, lead investigator of the study published in Nature. The team was able to significantly increase bone strength in both healthy and osteoporotic mice using the substance AP503, which was recently identified as a stimulator for GPR133. In bone tissue, GPR133 is activated through the interaction of neighboring bone cells and mechanical strain. This triggers a signal that stimulates bone-forming cells, osteoblasts, and inhibits bone-resorbing cells, osteoclasts. The result is stronger, more resilient bones. In the future, this could be used to both further strengthen healthy bones and rebuild weakened ones. For instance, in the cases of osteoporosis in women going through menopause. Brilliant. Great potential for an aging population. This is great news, fam.
Well, and also for those poor folks that
And this is instead of just taking some random pill that blocks this or blocks. This is actually just coming up with the thing that helps trigger the part that stops the degradation of bone strength and helps. It's actually, they identified a stimulator of GPR133, which is what keeps our bones strong. So that's awesome. We can regrow weak bones now and reverse people's osteoporosis and maintain healthy bone population for longer.
or at least now we have a footstep in figuring out really how we can do this, right?
Yes.
Whether this is the cure-all or not, but it's still a good point to grab.
So good news, fam. It's still out there, and every day that you go outside, just look up, and you're going to see that God has painted a beautiful new animated painting for you in the sky.
But all I see is UAPs and chemtrails, man.
Yeah. Well, then look at the trees too, and see that their leaves still move in the wind, and that there is still undeniably miraculous beauty to this cosmos and this living planet that we find ourselves springing out of as animate, self-reflective extensions of this planet. We Earthlings, find ourselves fighting amongst each other at this point in time, find ourselves trying to defend our fragile egos and hate those with whom we disagree instead of trying to understand where they're coming from and try and see if we can create compromise and conciliation. And I think that those latter two might just be the way for us to create the very unity and the peace and the joyful world that we seek. So let's start changing this world from the inside out, fam. Let's do this thing. I've been Chris.
I've been DJ.
This has been Meaning Making 101 here on Actuali Podcast. This is our weekly live stream series. We invite you guys to join us every week, 7 p. EST. We are here on YouTube. We are live here on Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, and X. So wherever you prefer to watch, you are encouraged to take part in the conversation. So welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Love you all. Let's dance our way on out of here.
And also, last thought from me, the grumpy bastard I am, don't become the demon that you're fighting.
Amen.
Really. Now let's boogie.
Let's go.
Let's get a little bit of volume on that. Let's bring that back up.
There we go.
Oh yeah, full volume. With the fade out and the new outro screen. Thanks to Chris for making this up.